freshers nervous before an interview, and what is a way to overcome this? What are the interview preparations a fresher has to do before an interview? From your perspective and from your experience, so how do you answer this question? So tell me about yourself. Very good morning, sir. There is a simple question we just want to address you. Like, for example, why are freshers nervous before an interview? And what is a way to overcome this?
Good question, which is being experienced by most of the freshers is this nervousness. So, in my opinion, nervousness comes because of two reasons. One, there is no knowledge about a particular subject, or there is no experience about a particular subject matter aspect. So, only two reasons. So that's why a lot of people, when they are going before interview, they are feeling this nervousness on what it could happen, and how do I experience the whole thing. All that stuff happens in the entire scenario. But to avoid this, only thing is the preparation part, where we have to get a knowledge about the company, knowledge about the CEO, knowledge about the products and services which they do, and what are all new publications which is published in Google about the company. All that we'll have to gather and make a note of it. Number one. Number two, whenever a job description is been given, they'll have to take a printout and make a note of what has been asked, so that they feel relevance to that particular job rather than just going randomly and attending interviews. So knowledge, this is the aspect of preparation. When it comes to experience, of course, freshers may not be having a lot of experience in dealing with things, but only thing is we'll have to undergo. Right. So when you undergo multiple rounds of interviews, you will get the fear out of your control, and then you will be better person attending first interview and a fifth interview. That's the only way.
Sir, from your experience, what are the interview preparations a fresher has to do before an interview?
Before an interview, there is the confidence level has to be improvised, because only because of lack of confidence, people tend to fear attending interviews. So first thing, as I said in my previous answer, the preparation part, where we will need to understand on which industry the company is belonging to. Okay, whether it is a edtech company or e-commerce company or IT company, that understanding we should have, and we should prepare the industry growth, right, on how the industry is growing. So only if the industry is growing, the company will grow. Otherwise, there will be a lot of challenges the company itself has to face. Because during the COVID time, only 5-6 industries survived, like e-commerce, retail, IT software tools, like that. So we have to pick up the right industry before selecting a right company. So that's I feel lacking in many of the freshers, because they are more focused towards the company's brand, or whether it is an MNC, what is the pay package, all that. But the pre-qualification element, where you give a shortlisting to go about a particular company, should be something industry, how the industry is going in next 5 years. That will give you a lot of confidence in entering into a particular industry rather than analyzing about the company. Of course, analyzing the company, you will have to look at the Wikipedia on what are all the data they have, because very professional companies have these Wikipedia pages, and the professional companies will publish a lot of news in the regular professional publishing aspects in India, what you call newspapers, articles, and all that. So that gives a idea of whether this company is really performing well. So what is the point in a company where you're choosing it is not even performing well? So you'll also get struggle. So rather we understand these aspects, so that we build a confidence and then getting into a particular role. That will make more sense comparing to just going randomly to interview just because my friend said, just because of my uncle said. That needs to be avoided, rather than picking up a right job, do all your preparation, and then going ahead.
So this is a very common question, often asked in interviews. But still, from your perspective and from your experience, so how do you answer this question? So Tell me about yourself.
So the reality from the hiring aspects, I'll tell you, because I come from the recruitment background. See, what happens during the interviewing process is a recruiter will give the resume to the hiring managers just 60 seconds before, because the hiring manager will be in some other meeting or some other interview, and they don't have the time to review all the content of the resume. Okay, so when the candidate is coming, we just want to understand what is your information about your background, past background, and you'll have to give a little orientation about your personal and career background. That is the only thing which we want. It's just a handshaking information which you have to give, rather than telling all life stories. All life stories we don't want. Rather, give a very professional summary on what you do, from which location you're coming, and what is your education background, what certifications you have done, which should be relevant to the position which you are applying. That's the only thing which we want. And back of our mind as a hiring manager, what runs in our mind is whether this guy will fit into our team of people who comes with a multiple level of culture, age group, geography, all that. Because in an organization, it's not a uniform team. So one will be at 45 years, one will be at 25 years, different set of people. So whether this candidate will mingle with that team and able to contribute in a project is what we will be thinking during the entire process. And when it comes to communication, there is a lot of assumption that communication means the English language, which is not true. So communication means the ability to make other people understand, and whether you are able to create a story which they will able to understand and take actionable steps. That's what we will try to understand during the entire process mechanism. So this people have to understand and give a very prepare a short summary of what you want to convey to your potential employer. That itself enough. No hard stories, no soft story. They don't want your personal stories and too much of professionalism, which is not even required. Just a handshake of how do you introduce to your friend, a new friend. That's how the information should be. But here the idea is going to a job, so you have to make little more preparation on your personal background, especially the achievements part. And if you have some achievements in the education level, quantify it. Okay. And whatever you want to sell to the potential employer, that is also you have to quantify it. Because people will say, okay, I'm a hard worker, I am best in communication, which doesn't even make sense. It is not measurable. Okay, when you say communication, I cannot measure on what level of communication it is. But when you say, I have attended a lot of webinars and paper presentation sessions where about 40 different paper presentation sessions I've attended, that gives an indirect way of selling your skills that you are a good communicator, right? So that's how you'll have to create a story with quantifiable elements so that the other people can really understand about your profile. That's the idea.
So many a times this question is being asked, but still freshers do find it very difficult to answer this. For example, what are your greatest strengths? How do they address this?
Okay, greatest strengths. Again, it's a tricky question asked by a hiring manager to understand your professional level of behavior. That's the idea behind it. So you have to combine your answer with your personal strength and professional strength. And again, looking at the JD, you make it relevant to the job. Okay, so that it makes sense to the profile which you are applying. Okay, so when they ask strength, they don't want to know about your the personal things. They want to know how relevant you are to that particular organization. Supposing a fresher is applying to a digital marketing analyst position, and if you say my strength is working with a lot of social media, that is a relevant point. So I'm very good at LinkedIn, I'm very good at Instagram. That means your relevance to a digital marketing position is highly appreciable. Okay, rather than telling, okay, I'm very good at maths, I'm very good at traveling, that doesn't even make sense. Okay, so make it to the point. All elements should be relatable to the job which you are applying. That is why the preparation on the job description is very essential, so that we align everything to the job, so that the hiring manager feels that you are a very potential and matchable profile, rather than people coming in randomly and then telling some different elements which will not make sense that way.
So, for a question like this, tell me about a time you have demonstrated the leadership skills in your college. The freshers, how do they need to answer this, sir?
So here they want to understand how proactive they are. Okay, because in education system, school and colleges, how they usually react is whenever we are giving some job, they will execute. As simple as that. We are giving assignment, they will execute. We will give some project, they will execute. But leadership is something where somebody need not tell anything. They should come proactively. Okay, this proactive element is what the hiring manager is trying and understand, where he can talk about any volunteering assignments or any project-based assignments which he has done in the past, where he was instrumental in setting up the whole team or initiative in the entire process, all that. So that way he can tell the scenario on what happened in the last project assignment and how he was instrumental in initiating certain ideas and formed a team, all that. Supposing there is an assignment in MBA or BCom or something like that, where they start with this what you call this tour plans and all that, right? So they go for industrial visits and all that. But so half of the people may not have interest, half of the people may have interest. But somebody has to provoke this element of going to an industrial visit so that it becomes actionable for the rest of the people. So he has to say, okay, I made it a point that how this particular element is important. I went and spoke to the HOD on which is the company which we are going, gathered a lot of information, came back to my class and explained to all my friends who are in the class, and enrolled about 40 students in a particular industrial visit. That's how he has to create a story, right? It is not just answering, but he has to explain a scene on what happened in the past so that it gives an idea on what really happened. Because hiring manager cannot think very complex during a hiring process, because he could have already met 10 candidates and another 10 candidates are waiting, right? So if you give a very generic answer, then it will not sit in their mind. But if you tell a story, it becomes more obvious and he can relate to that story in their mind. That way, you have to make it the answer very simpler and educative so that he understand your strength.
So there are many tricky questions which is asked during the interview, especially for the freshers. Say, for example, tell me about your challenge or a conflict you have faced in your college and how did you deal with it? How do you answer this question, sir?
Okay. So in an organization, as you know, we have to work in a team. Okay, we are not an individual or a machine to operate one particular machine and then go. So we'll have to work with a team with a multiple diversity level of people. So they are trying to understand whether you are able to work in an environment where can you collaborate with another team and execute the job still if you have a difference. Okay, so now in metro cities, there are people from different languages, different culture, different mindset of people, all that. So as a fresher, you cannot do a job which has been assigned to you. You'll have to run around people, talk to them proactively, go for a coffee, understand the people first and then work with them. So conflict resolution is something you will have to make up a story in the past, whatever has really happened, and then make them understand what happened in the past and what was the process you have involved in the entire process and how you executed successfully. So this three elements needs to be covered so that he understand what was the conflict and how you resolved it. Okay, so say for example somebody have conflict towards maybe going for a movie, for that matter. Okay, so how he has resolved or how he has influenced people to take up a decision as a whole team. Like 5 people will be a friends, 3 friends will tell a different movie, 2 friends will tell a different movie. So how he has managed and influenced to get into one particular movie is what he has to take an example, so that the hiring manager understand how he can influence and how logical he is to convince to the other people and take a result rather than just fighting and then leaving the entire decision. Okay, in an organization, multiple decisions has to be taken. So he should not be the person. Okay, if this decision is not coming in alignment of my decision, I'm not here. That should not be the person, right? So he has to collaborate at any which way, whether he likes or not. He has to collaborate and work. That's the attitude which we want. So they are trying to understand in a different environment whether you're liking or not, how you made an influence and how you're coming to a conclusion. That's what they are trying to understand. So that way you'll have to create a story, explain the outcome of the conflict which has done in the past, and tell the entire story so that they will understand how you have resolved.
There are certain difficult questions which is being posed during the interviews, especially for the freshers. Say, for example, this question, tell me about a time you have failed. It's a difficult question. So how do you address this, sir?
Firstly, being very honest. We need not fake it, or we need not tell a fabricated story. So be honest on what is your entire weakness on certain elements, and again come up with a scenario where you have failed. And but make sure you tell them that you're working on towards the areas which you have weakness about it, where you have failed in the past. Okay, so say for example, there will be engineering students with a different background, ECE or EEE and all that, where they might be forced to go for a coding or software, related assignments or something like that. So you say I was assigned to a coding job, coding internship, where I was drastically failed because I was not in the background which is expected. So I accept the fact that this first internship of this coding assignments was drastically failed because I was not in the background. But after realizing that, I made it a point. I joined Udemy course, Coursera, all these courses, and developed myself so that I make sure I have a very strong coding skills, which is expected from an industry. That is how you'll have to create a structure of your failure story rather than, oh, okay, I failed this. That's not the answer we want. But how you are scaling up after getting a failure, and what are the steps you have taken, what are the action items taken logically. That's what we want to understand. Okay, how you are resolving the whole failure is what we are trying to understand, rather your failure story, which we also don't want.
So there is a question. How did you hear about our company? If this kind of question is asked to a fresher, what answer he needs to give?
So the background of reason of these questions, I'll tell you. So because every organization has to maintain a metrics on from which are all sources people are coming to us. Okay, so that they have a major metrics and take a high level decision on which particular mode we'll have to invest a lot. Whether you have seen our posting in Naukri or LinkedIn, or referred by a friend, or just you saw our LinkedIn posting and referred, or what exactly is the mode, so that they calculate the metrics part of it. Okay, so you can tell them whichever mode you have applied for and what excited you as a person to apply for this organization. That also you'll have to club and say, so that they feel positive about their company. Okay, so you say, okay, I saw your job posting in LinkedIn, which has excited me because this particular industry is what I'm trying to enter. Okay, so rather than faking, okay, this is my dream job, this is my MNC which I want to work, which everybody knows it's a lie, right? Rather, you talk about more about the industry. Okay, e-commerce industry is performing at a larger space and scaling big level in next 5-10 years. So this is the industry which I want to be a part of, where you are the major brand in this particular industry. That way you can club it. Okay, in an industry, there'll be 10 companies which will be playing. So that you tell, okay, you are one of the unique brand in this industry where there are a lot of success stories in the past. So I was excited to be a part of the industry where you are best among the competitors. That way I've learned and excited to be a part of your team where you are building a new team for your marketing team or IT team, something like that. You create a story.